Previously on Trippin' Aussies.
If you guys want to see our complete episode from Cape York, then check out our previous episodes. Otherwise, stick around for another great episode. G'day guys, welcome back to Trippin' Aussies. Whilst our Cape York adventure comes to an end, we thought we'll take you guys through a full service of both of our vehicles and give you a few key essentials as to what we think you guys need to make your Cape York adventure the ultimate dream. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hey guys, welcome back to our part 2 series of Cape York adventures, and I've got Simon here. Simon's a mate of mine that we met on the road as part of our travels, and we've had great fun traveling with Simon and his partner Carly along the way. And we were able enough and blessed enough to be able to do the Cape York trip with him and his partner. And yeah, we've loved it so far. We are now set up back here at Mariba at our RV Ringers Rest. And we've, yeah, it's been a 2-week journey to get up to the tip and back. And we just thought in this episode, we'd do a bit of a rundown post Cape York as to exactly what went wrong on the cars, maybe a few essentials that you guys might need if you're going to think about doing a Cape York trip, and also a few spare parts that you think you might need, not only for on the way along the trip, just in case things go wrong, but also once you get back from a big trip like Cape York or something like that, where you are tackling a few good river crossings and a few different obstacles, it's probably best to give your car just a bit of a basic service. So, and I mean, we were lucky enough to have Simon, who is a qualified mechanic, along the way, and so for any little issues that we did have along the way, Simon was straight on it, and it made our trip a lot easier to get by, knowing that if anything was to go wrong, we didn't have to stress too much over it. But at the same time, it is vital to have certain parts, because like I said, you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, and if you get stuck without the right parts, it can be quite a challenging time and a stressful time. But anyway, I think I'll start off by going on with there's 4 essential things that you're going to need if you are thinking about doing a Cape York trip. And I mean, you can go all guns blazing on your car, and you can have 33s, 35-inch tyres, and you know, all as many aerials and UHF and the whole rest, the whole works. But when it comes to doing a Cape trip, we've spoken about this for a little while. So I'll start us off with what we reckon the 4 essential things you are going to need for a Cape York trip. And like I was saying, you can go all out and you can have the best rig in the world with all the latest bells and whistles. But after speaking and after doing the track and doing the travels, and Simon and I both talking, we kind of worked out, you know what, it's really not that important to have every single thing under the sun. We worked it out. We think there's only 4 key things you need. Starting with, I reckon, the most important thing is a good set of Max Tracks. I mean, there's different brands out there, Max Tracks, Tread Pro, all the different brands. As long as you've got a pretty decent quality track, it'll do the job. And reason being, a lot of those exits that we found coming out of river crossings and even some of the entry points, they are either quite steep and you've got to really give it a bit to get in it, to get out of those or in or out of those areas, but also if there's been plenty of other cars that have come hit the track before you have, they're more than likely either churn it up, so they're quite deep ruts, or if we've had a little bit of rain or weather, they're quite boggy, and it just makes it very hard on your vehicle to try and get out of some of those areas. So by having a good set of Max Tracks, which we were able to use a couple of times on the old Tele track, it definitely made our trip and our experience a lot easier. We didn't have to put as much stress on the cars to have to get up and about. But yeah, I think that's the number 1 most important thing. Number 2.
Number 2, I reckon, would be definitely a snorkel. I would not attempt going through a river crossing without a snorkel. It's just not. It's not very good practice at all. You can get water into your engine and causing engine failure, and you'll be stuck on the old Telegraph track, which will cost you a fortune to get towed out. Safari is a very well-known brand, and we both use Safari snorkels, but there are other brands out there that will suffice and also do the job.
Yep. Yeah, it's basically as long as you can get your air intake up as high as possible. So it does give you that, like you said, that clearance out of most river crossings and that. Otherwise, because where's most standard, you being a mechanic, where's most standard air intakes for a car? It's usually...
Most air intakes are just near where the headlight is.
Yeah.
Old Telegraph track, look, a lot of river crossings didn't come above the wheel, but all it takes is you to hit the river crossing a bit hard, or a bit of rainfall over a few days. Being a tropical area, the river crossings can get high quite quick.
Yep.
So, and you may be stuck. You might have thought, look, I've gone across this river crossing and had no, hasn't been up very high, but you might be doing a return trip, and after a bit of rain, you will drown your engine.
Yeah, completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, it is just not good at all.
So we got Max Tracks number 1, Snorkel number 2, number 3. What did we say number 3 was? We spoke about it the other day. We thought Max Tracks, we went Snorkel.
Weighted up, didn't we? We thought it's between a few things, but we definitely thought probably your tyres, having a good set of tyres on the track. Now, that doesn't mean going out and buying aggressive mud tyres, because you don't need that for the track. We saw a couple of cars that had just road tyres.
Yeah.
It's about setting your right tyre pressures.
That's it.
And having a good 8 ply or so, good branded tyre to prevent those punctures and damages to your tyre.
Yeah, that's right.
Also on the tyres is to carry a good spare tyre, if not 2 spare tyres, with a tyre puncture repair kit. Because we experienced just at the Bramwell station coming back, it was just a simple driving around the campsite, picking up a peg that someone had left in the ground, causing one of our rear tyres to get a puncture.
Yeah, that's right. So it doesn't even have to be actually on the actual track or the four-wheel drive tracks itself, but it can be something as simple as, like Simon just said, we're back at camp, we've done the track, we're safe and sound, we think we're out of the woods, and just doing a quick lap around the station, we end up running over a peg and getting a puncture. And you don't realise that thing until the next morning when you wake up, like we did, and happen to see the tyre. It wasn't a big explosion, but it was just a slow leak over the night. And yeah, that's the last thing you want if you've either got only the one spare tyre and you maybe already used that spare tyre. So it's definitely good to have a good quality tyre and, like Simon said, a puncture repair kit, so that you are able to, on the go. They take no time at all really these days to pull the tyre off, put a puncture repair in and continue travels without having to worry about finding a mechanic or a tyre specialist to come out there. Because again, just like you said, drowning your car and having to get a tow truck, trying to find someone that's going to do a puncture repair or even redoing your bead on your tyre, if that's what's ended up going wrong, can cost you an arm and a leg when you're up in a Cape York experience, and it's just not fun at all.
On the beads as well on your tyre. So we did come across a few people that got, ourselves included, getting dirt inside the bead. So a handy little thing to do is take some detergent or some soapy water, let your tyre right down. Using a high lift jack, you can jack your car up so there's no load on the tyre. You can spin the tyre around. And all it takes is, once your tyre is fully deflated, getting a tyre lever or a long screwdriver in and squirting with a bit of a spray bottle, getting that soapy water in and around, cleaning that bead. This took us about half an hour or so to clean the bead out. We reinflated the tyre and it was good as gold.
Yeah.
So even if you have got a flat tyre and you think, oh no, I better get the spare tyre out, investigate first, see if it is. Just by spraying a bit of soapy water, you'll soon know straight away that if it's the bead that has caused the tyre to deflate. And if so, have a go at fixing it yourself before throwing on your spare tyre, because your spare tyre is a last resort. And you go put your spare tyre on and something else happens, and you've only got one spare tyre, well, you're in.
You're up the creek, put it that way.
Up the creek.
Number 4, so I think we said number 4, probably, again, just as important as your Max Tracks, we believe will be having a winch on your vehicle. I think if you can't manage to get up half of those exits coming out of most creek crossings or any just steep incline really, and you've got the luxury of having a few trees around a winch off, or another vehicle obviously, I think a winch is definitely an essential thing that you need. It's going to get you, it's kind of like your spare tyre situation. We kind of use the winch as like a last resort. If the Max Tracks didn't work and after giving it a little bit of momentum and you happen to just get yourself stuck in a sticky situation, get the winch out nice and slow, take your time, make sure everything's safe around you and you're not doing anything too stupid, and you just winch yourself out of most of those sticky situations. Because without it, we didn't really, it was only the one place on the whole trailer track that we really needed the winch. And it was more so just because we kind of just got bogged in a sticky situation, didn't we? We didn't. It was in a creek crossing, so we didn't have access to even get the max tracks underneath the car and try that way. So we kind of had to go to our last option, which was use the winch. And lucky enough, we had a good quality winch, got us out of there straight away, and we were able to get back on track and continue our trip. So and I think I'll add a fifth one in there. I think not only having a winch, but also just as important is we always carry a couple of extra jerry cans. It is a long track, and you don't know how hard you're going to be working your car the entire time. So I think it is definitely important carrying an extra, 20 or 40 litres worth of diesel or petrol, whatever your car is going to make it just a sense of security. Because like I said, you don't know what's going to happen. You might not know how long you're going to be stuck out there for. You don't know if there's other people that are stuck and you're going to be there for hours and hours trying to rescue them or help them or having to tow someone else through. And definitely by doing something like that, it's going to add a lot more strain on your car and you're going to chew through a lot more fuel. So don't be a bit smart, carry plenty of fuel, have all the right recovery gear, and you should be right. I think that's it. When we said in regards to coming up with 4 or 5 essential things, that's all you really need. Like I said, you don't have to go having 35-inch tyres out of mud terrain or all these, all the big bells and whistles and what else, giant lift kits and stuff like that. Like, whilst they do help in their own measures, they're not essential. And we think that it's only the 4 or 5 essential things that you do need to go out and do Cape York trip. But in front of us, we've got plenty of other things. Not just, service materials, but we've also got a few things that, tell us, what's this, Simon? You'll be able to tell us more about this.
Well, another little hiccup we had on the trip was just on the main
PDR?
PDR
on
track.
PDR.
We lost our power steering, and all it was just pulled over the side. Our power steering belt had worn and jumped off the pulleys. Luckily and fortunately, we could still keep driving it without the power steering until we found a place that did have one.
Yep.
But it definitely put on what materials you need to take on the trip.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't that old, the power steering belt, taking a spare one and throwing it on, and that's all belts.
Yeah, drive belts, power steering, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it may be. Take a spare set because it's it probably usually only half an hour job, and you're back on the road.
And without having a spare drive belt, what's your options? You're pretty much stuffed, aren't you?
Yeah,
You're going to have no drive. If you call on that tow truck or your mate behind you to flat tow you to the nearest mechanic, who hopefully, depending on the model of your car, has one in stock. And with us both having Toyotas, we were pretty fortunate that anywhere on the road, whether you're in a remote area, most mechanics will usually stock a part that's going to match those vehicles. So it's definitely not only is it important to have good recovery gear to help you get out of those situations, but there is a few key things that we thought are good to carry as on the road parts, such as drive belts. Also, maybe even an alternator. I was unfortunate enough to do, once we finished the teletrack actually, we woke up the next morning and my battery light was on, and once after diagnosing it, we worked out that an alternator that I had put in the car not too long ago had got some water or mud in it and was causing overcharging. So we realized we're going to have to, for a bit of sense of security, we took out that alternator. And again, we were lucky enough to be in a town that happened to stock an alternator that was going to fit my car. And that's not going to happen in every case. Depending on your make and model of your car, I definitely recommend not only having a few drive belts and belts, but also maybe carrying a spare alternator. And what else?
I think on the alternator as well, and another very helpful little item you can get is just a thing that goes into your cigarette lighter to let you know what your voltage is.
Yep. Like an engine data scanner.
Engine data scanner, or just a voltage reading output, because the battery light was on. We could see that the battery was still charging at 13.8, 13.9 volts. It wasn't spiking, it wasn't dropping in charge. So we knew that we were still okay and able to continue driving the car. However, it had that voltage read 16 volts or higher, or less, around the 12 volt, being the battery's getting discharged. You wouldn't have driven the car very long before you'd have lost all electrics. The car probably would have shut down and you would have had to spend those couple $1,000s to get towed out. Yeah,
that's right. And it's the last thing you want when you're doing a Cape trip is to have to be forking out. I mean, everyone budgets, well, I mean, you'd be smart to budget for a little bit of things you might have to pay for or fix along the way. But no one in their mind is thinking, oh, I'm going to pay $1,000 for what if I need to be towed. Like it's not what you first think about. So it's definitely smart and wise.
Budgeting money is definitely for a rainy day. If you're going to do the go up to the tip and not carry or not think about carrying any spare dosh
or spending the money on them,
then you're a bit silly.
Yeah, that's right. The next thing that we have here, and this is more now leading to post-trip Cape York, is doing a bit of a full service on the car. And Simon, I'll get Simon here, because him being the mechanic, just to kind of talk us through exactly, some of the filters we've got here, some of the oils we've got here, and exactly why it's important to kind of do these things post-trip, or, recommended to do them post-trip, just for, I guess, the life of your car and for the health-wise of your car. So what have we got here filter-wise, Simon?
So
and why is it important?
First off, you've got an air filter. You're getting a lot of dust that going through these tracks. If you've got a car in front of you, car coming past you, there's dust everywhere. Your clothes get covered in dust, your car gets covered in dust, your air filter gets covered in dust. So carrying a spare one of them, and once we've finished the trip, to replace the air filter. And really don't take any consideration on when you last replaced the air filter. If you do the old Telegraph track and you go up to the tip, it's best to replace that.
Yeah, well, we found, like I said, just about everywhere we stopped along the way, not only to have lunch and maybe go to the toilet or whatever, it's good to even just give your car a quick check over, whether it be loose nuts and bolts. Pop your bonnet, have a look at your airbox. It takes you 30 seconds just to quickly open up your airbox, check what your airbox filter or the air filter's looking like.
You can clean it out with air compressor just for time.
If it's looking really dusty and dirty and you think, oh, I don't want to have to put in my spare air filter that I've got, get the air compressor out, like Simon said, give it a quick spray and a clean, and you can definitely prolong the lifetime of that airbox or the air filter for the remainder of your trip. All right, what else? What other filters we got here? We got oil filter, something so simple, but
again, best to do it after your trip. Even though you are driving in low range and you're not going at a very high speed, your car is really working, especially going up these steep hills and through river crossings and whatnot. Contamination and under high stress, it's best just to, once you get back from the trip, replace your oil filter, replace the oil, and job's right to continue on with your trip.
Yeah, and that goes the same with like anything. If you guys have the luxury of having like pre-lined fuel filters and fuel filters, same deal pretty much. They're probably things that don't necessarily need to be done, but if you happen to get something in there along the trip, it's definitely something that once you get back from your trip, I'd advise changing just to really help the lifetime of your car and keep your car going in a healthy way. And especially in our case, where we're kind of traveling all around Australia at the moment, I think after doing a big heavy trip like this, if we can have a sense of security knowing that once we've got back, we've gone over all the car, we've checked all the filters, we've done oil changes and the whole lot, it gives us a good positive step forward for the rest of our trip and travels. We're not having to think about, when last did I check this and change this, and we did the Cape trip and I wonder how much stuff got in here and whatever else. But like I said, definitely wise to have all your different filters and stuff available.
Handy hint on the fuel filters is that if you do change it and you notice that there's a fair bit of water or contamination in the fuel, replace it straight away. Drive a short distance, recheck the fuel filter. If you still have water and contamination in the fuel filter, go straight to the service center or the mechanic and get your fuel tank drained. Because what's happened there is you've picked up some dirty fuel somewhere. Even though the fuel filter's picked up and done its job, you've still got a whole heap of
water in your tank,
and dirt and whatnot in your tank. So it's best to get that drained and put new fresh fuel, and you'll be raring to go.
Yeah, and I mean, probably the next thing in here, or I think the last thing that we pretty much got, other than, we got some grease and some degreaser and stuff just to help with the service part and cleaning it, because, I mean, it's nice to, when you're getting underneath the car after doing a big trip, and we'll show you in a second, we've actually gave my car a good clean in the engine bay where Simon has yet to do it on his car, and we can kind of show you just how dusty and dirty it actually gets in your car, and why we suggest once you do a post trip, not only give your car a good clean, but give everything a good clean underneath in your engine bay, because when it does come time of doing things like an oil change, the last thing you want is you've taken your old filter off and a little bit of dust or dirt from in your engine bay ends up getting into your engine, and you're back at square one again. You're going to put this brand new oil filter on, or fuel filter, whatever it might be, and you think, oh, how come there's dust and stuff on it again so quick? So we'll definitely show you that in a sec. We'll do a bit of a quick rundown as to, you know, how dirty and dusty you can get from nice and clean, because I cleaned mine before I went on the trip, and it looked just as bad, if not worse, than Simon's car at the moment. So I'm glad we've done that, and it's definitely going to make doing a service on the car so much easier. But the last thing that we've got on here is a whole bunch of different oils, and it looks quite intimidating because there's a lot of kilos or litres of oil here. But what exactly are they all for, Simon?
So each one, so we've got our first one's our. Now I use a Penrite. I generally use Penrite just because I suppose in the experience that we've had and whatnot, what I've had before is I've used different oils, and it seems to have more oil consumption than if I use Penrite. If I use Penrite, I'm getting a lot less oil consumption between service intervals than other oils. So first one we've got here is a 1550 Hpi Diesel. Now on all these oils, just because these oils may suit our cars, it does not generally mean that these oils will suit your car. So best thing to do is get on the Penrite website, and it will actually have a little search engine, which you did, didn't you?
Yeah, and you kind of filter your search through, exactly right. Your make, your model, your year, and it pretty much comes up and tells you every oil and part that you need for that car for your service.
So for Tom's Hilux, we've got the engine oil 1550. We've got the 7590, which is for Tom's gearbox. And we've got 80-90 for the diff oils. Now Tom's rear diff is a limited slip diff, so that's also one that you may need to look into and investigate, that if your diff is a limited slip diff, that you get a diff oil to
for what is recommended.
For what is recommended.
Yeah.
So so that's pretty much all our oils we've got. We've got a bit of a day ahead of us to replace all these, but we should have good fun.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good, and like I said, we'll get stuck into it now and start doing a bit of a service and take you guys for a bit of a trip with us, so you can see not just what we do, but exactly how important it actually is, and you'll be able to see some of the oil that comes out of it, like I said, the diffs and out of the engine, just how dirty it might look after doing some of these trips, and how clean it's gonna look when we're done. So anyway, let's get stuck into it, and we'll see you guys very soon. Well, here we are at Simon's 60 series Land Cruiser, and you can just see how much dirt you just get in your engine bay. Like I said, we did the old telly track, and to get up to the old telly track, there's quite a lot of driving on the PDR, and we every couple of 100 k's would stop off and would double check everything. But the one thing you can't clean, and it's just totally out of your grasp the whole way along doing a Cape York experience, is just the amount of dust and dirt that gets everywhere, whether it be not only underneath your bonnet, but in all your cabins and drawers, and that dust just seems to find its way in regardless. So you can just have a look here, you can see that there is dust as thick as just about every part of his engine bay here, and we haven't given this a clean or a wipe down at all, so it's as raw as it gets. And you can kind of just see that the red dirt just takes over. It just makes its way into the whole engine bay. And we'll go and show you my engine bay, which we gave a clean first thing this morning. And like I said, it looked just as bad as if not worse. And you can just shows how much of a difference it makes by giving that engine bay a clean. And it's going to make your service time a lot more fun and funner, because you're not getting as dirty and grimy. But also the risk of anything major or dangerous happening to your car down the track, you've definitely reduced that a lot, because you got less chance of dust and dirt getting into your engine bay. So
I mean, for example, I have a look at the oil cap.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to remove the oil cap and have a look how much dust is around the oil cap.
Exactly
right.
Then
just removing the oil cap, there's a possibility for oil to enter into the engine.
Yeah.
Dust to enter into
exactly
the engine.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, come for a walk. Come over to the Hilux. You'll see over here. And I mean, you can see there is definitely signs of still little bits of dust and dirt here and there. But have a peek over here, right in the top of the engine. Just like, for instance, the engine oil cap, like Simon was just talking about. Look how much cleaner it is. You haven't got dust and stuff wanting to come down the the engine cover. in and around, and it's just going to make getting parts out a lot easier. You're going to get less dirt and stuff on yourself, and you're going to make less risk of getting anything else into those critical parts of your engine, which you don't want dirt and dust getting into. And we were, like I said before in the intro, we were quite cautious, you know, especially for things like whenever we'd stop at the end of each day, we would get the air filters out. We'll give them a good blowdown with the air compressor. And I was amazed, and even by having, both of us ran on our Snorkels whilst on the PDR, the uni filters. So it's another filter that you can put on the top of your ram head Snorkel, and it basically just catches or reduces the amount of dust that does get into your airbox. And even by still having a filter on your Snorkel, which obviously isn't a stock standard thing, it's not, you know, what everyone puts in their car all the time, I was amazed at how much dirt and dust got into the airbox and onto the air filter itself. So again, like I said before in the intro, definitely important to, if you want to try and make not only your service time a lot easier at the end of the day and the end of your trip, but along your trip, get yourself a uni filter and be mindful of keeping that airbox and the air filter clean as you go, and it can help make your service time like it is now a lot funner and easy to clean and less risk of things happening. But you can kind of see it, that's the after and there's the before, and it just goes to show how much easier it's going to make our service job now. And yeah, we're able to now get straight into it. So let's get underneath the car and let's start doing a bit of a service, eh? Hot tip, guys, when draining your oil either on engine, diffs and gearbox, make sure you undo the filler caps first. It will not only help the draining process, but can be sure you can fill them up without issues. Nothing worse than draining the oils and not being able to fill them up. Well guys, you can see just before I put the new one in, how bad the old one was, and I'll give you a bit of a demo. This is just how dusty, and I've blown this out 3 or 4 times since the trip. Pretty dusty. Anyway, she's gone. Alright, fresh fuel filter, guys. Just make sure it comes with a little set of rubber O-rings, which you do want to put these new ones in the fuel filter. Get that one there in the top. Got 2 of the round O-rings. Make sure you get the thinner one, which goes here on the top of the fuel filter. Like that. And then what we use on the actual fuel filter part, there's an old rubber O-ring. There, which you just replace with this one here. I mean, you probably get away with it, but the fact that we've got a new one, we might as well put it on. And we're good to go. And then drop it straight in. Good to go. So the top part of the fuel filter here, and what you're going to make sure is that when you take it off, see how there's all these little those little stems that come off the fuel. You want to make sure you as you pull it off, because it goes a certain way to go on. So we knew that this one here with all the clips needs to line up with this electrical connector down the bottom here. So we're happy with that there. Then we can kind of come back up. And once you've done that, just give it a quick tighten. It should just be by hand, as long as everything's down right. Alright, and then kind of just blowing in. Same way you pulled it out. You can see here there's like this little guide thing. As you go back down in here, it just slides down back in there, how you got it out. And then it's a matter of same deal. Alrighty, well, looks like we're now finished underneath the engine bay here. We've now done both catch can, pre-line filter, fuel filter and oil filter. Drain all the oil out, and yeah. A bit of a hot tip though, if you are going to be doing a bit of a service on your car, once you've done, for instance, you've changed the oil filter and changed the oil, start your car up. Make sure that there's no air in any of the lines or anything, because if you end up going through and doing them all, if you get air in any of the lines, you don't know which one it was in. So once you do one thing, start it all up, make sure she's all running good, and then go to the next thing, which has been good so far. So anyway, time to get underneath the diffs now, and we're going to start doing the diffs and the gearbox. Alright, catch up. G'day guys, welcome back to day 2 of our service here. We're now working on the 60 series of Simon's car here, and we never done all the diff oils and the filters and that like we did yesterday on my car. And we're now actually going to jack the car up like we've got now. We've got the tyres off and we're going to get stuck into the wheel bearings. You can kind of see with these hubs here, they were just full of dirt and grime and mud, and it was pretty disgusting. So we're kind of glad we pulled them off. Give them a good clean out. Pack them, get the bearings out, pack them full of grease, so we can give them a good clean out. And yeah, she's good as new to go again. So that's the job for today. And other than that, what else? Anything else? No,
that's about it. Once we finish these wheel bearings, we pretty much
just about good to roll again.
Yeah.
So all right, we'll put the time lapse on and we can take you with us. All right, catch up. Well guys, we're pretty much done here. We've done our full service on the car now, and you can see she was pretty filthy in some of those filters, isn't it? But got all the old oil here, which we're going to take to a place in Cairns where they'll take all the oil and that off our hands for us, which is good. And that pretty much wraps up this episode on the service of the cars. Yeah, it was a great experience, and like I said, just make sure when you're doing a cake trip, you've got all your filters and all that up to scratch. And when you do a service, you can just see how important it is once you get back. Just to continue on with the longevity of your car, and if you're doing a trip, it can help out with the rest of your trip. But that's all for this episode, and we'll catch up with you guys very soon. Join us for our next episode, guys, as we get back on the road and continue our trip west. We leave our friends Simon and Carly as they continue on their journey around Australia, and we head across the Savannah Way into the beautiful Northern Territory. Thank you, Queensland. We've loved our time there, but we are looking forward to the rest of our travels.